Well, what do we have here? Another Teisco. Made in Japan. I'm not sure the year on this one. But today's task is to remove the fingerboard. The truss rod is broken off inside. It's adjusted from back here, but the adjuster has broken off, and the neck is got enough of a bow in it that it definitely needs a truss rod adjustment. So what we're going to do is heat this up and try to get the fingerboard off. The fallback plan is, if I can't remove the fingerboard, in one piece where it's still serviceable enough to actually put back on after installing a new truss rod, then I'm just going to make a new fingerboard out of rosewood, and we're not going to have the inlays and things like that. We'll just have some dots and everything. So anyway, I'm going to try to get this fingerboard off. I've had success with that in the past, so I think I have the right tool for the job this time. I recently made a purchase of the StewMac. It's like a draw knife, but it's made to go under the fingerboard, and as I heat up with the iron, I just keep pulling this through. My old spatulas were a little bit flimsy and they're all bent up now and everything, and this potentially could be the answer to that question. So anyway, I'm going to get set up here and get started. Because now that the neck is off, I've discovered a few other little issues. This neck has a pretty substantial crack that runs along there. Doesn't seem to be loose. I'll probably just get some glue and squish it back together a little bit with some clamp. But anyway, just to minimize some of the damage from removing this fingerboard, I'm going to use my razor and I'm going to scribe along where this binding line is. That way, if there's any finish that's attached, because they did spray some clear over top of both, I don't want to peel off this the paint any more than I have to, because I have no way of matching that color. Let's see if we can't make some progress here. So far, the new tool's working well. Can't wait to try it on a high quality neck, like a Martin acoustic or something like that. With the proper glue, this is a really easy process. I'm still giving it up. So. Yeah, it could have been a little cleaner, but that's not bad. I'm going to clamp this fingerboard down flat, see if maybe I can salvage it. Okay, let's see if I can actually dig out this truss rod now, because just kind of went along and cleaned out some of that wood. Alright, let's see if I can't get this the rest of the way out. I know I got it loosened. Oh, there we go. And oh, that's where it's broken off. Look at that rusty, nasty thing. Okay, so Rosie's preparing the fingerboard. She actually thinks we can use this again, so she's cleaning all of the glue residue, any wood scrap off the back. And I think she's correct. It looks like it's still in pretty good condition. We're going to have to refret it, so I'm not worried about those frets because they got superheated with the iron and they probably can be lifted out with your fingertips. But I think the inlays, yeah, I mean, they didn't warp or melt in any way that I can really see. So I think we're going to try to reuse this fingerboard, and then we'll pull frets and refret it. So it's somewhat more narrow, and that's okay. I can widen this out. But looking at, due to this old truss rod design was a single action, and it has like a bow to it. So the channel gets a little bit deeper as it gets towards the middle and gets shallower towards the ends. Because my first thought was I'm just going to route this out and then put a glue in a piece of wood. But I'm afraid to get down to the lowest common denominator, I may punch through on this end. What I'm going to do is start at one end. I stand the washer. I use a pencil. And so the pencil, rolling with the washer, follows, and I find my curve. So I'm going to go and actually cut this out, use a sander, and I'll use this as a template to make a little spline that's going to be the right width to go in there and glue in. And then once that's glued in, I will I'll go back and I'll route this out. But this is a consistent thickness the whole length. For the most part, down at the adjuster end it gets a little bit deeper, but that's going to be into the heel area. Alright, as it turns out, I happen to have a piece of Purple Heart that's just the right thickness, so I'm just going to use that. Stick a dowel into the arse end of it because I don't really want it to, like I said, I don't want any of the epoxy to start leaking out the back. So start by just pouring a little bit of this in. We have lots of squeeze out. Epoxy worked out rather well. And I'm going to take this over to the vise and pare that down with a plane. But first I think I'm going to handle this open crack here, and I think I'm just going to use CA glue because I don't want to be all day about it. I think I can just wick a little bit of this thin super glue. There we go. There was a little ski jump at the end on this end here, but that was due to that crack. So everything's nice and flat now. You can see that I went with all of the clamps. It actually clamped up rather easily and closed up nicely along the edges. I was able to wipe off any squeeze out, so I didn't have to use the surgical tubing or anything like that. Now I'm putting a radius. This neck was really flat. It had 0 radius whatsoever. I'm putting a 20 on it. Keep it somewhat flat, but a little bit more comfortable to play. And now I am fretting this Teisco base neck. You might be able to hear the wind crashing and howling in the background. That is typical Iowa winter weather. And yeah. So I use my cutters to trim these ends so that they go over the binding. And just get a little super glue in. And get the fret in there. That's really all it needs. However, lately I've been using this new tool that I got from Elmer Tools. This is it's kind of a fret press. I don't know, guess what else you'd call it. I could use this thing, and I have, to press frets in and then lock it down to hold them in place while the glue dries. I still like the control that I get from my little hammer, just to tap them in, because I've beveled open the slots a little bit. The frets go in, so it's super nice and easy. And this is mostly used just to hold them in place, completely pressed down to the wood until the glue dries. And so I'll give it like 10 seconds or so. Move on to the next one. We had a crack along here that we fixed, and I'm pretty sure I know why. I measured the depth of the cavity, and then I measured the depth, and there was a discrepancy where the depth of the cavity is deeper than the distance from the heel to the bottom of this overhang. So when the screws got tightened down tight, it was just splitting this area that supports the fingerboard off. So I'm going to have to do either a shim or add some, sand this back, add some material and re-angle this, or remove some material from the bottom side underneath the fretboard. So yeah, I got some decisions to make. I'll probably run that by the customer and see what his feelings are on the matter. Using the sharp chisel, I've just kind of pared away, because I was looking at this and this was so lopsided and wavy across here, and when everything was tightened down, it was definitely making contact on one side, not as much on the other. That's why the crack on one side was a lot more advanced. And so I've measured the depth of the pocket, and I have this dialed in. It's right on the money now. So we have just enough clearance, and we'll clean out some of this fuzz here, and I might seal it with some CA glue to keep it, anything from flaking off. The paint's intact. Everywhere that will be seen from the side will be intact, and everything, but the underside here is definitely, I've taken quite a bit off, like a 1/16 of an inch, but that's going to work just great. Made a little bit of an adjustment to the underside of the heel extension, Now I'm just brushing on some CA glue. That will seal this area. Okay, so I got the neck mounted back on, and if you could see, there's ever so slightly a little bit of a gap underneath that overhang. And so now the bottom side of this overhang is not making contact with the top. So as I tighten the bolts for the neck, to tighten the neck down into the pocket, it's not causing a shearing action here when this bottoms out. So everything's on there nice and tight, and I could still slide paper underneath that heel extension. So that's all been addressed. That's reduced our neck angle quite a bit. So I think I'll be able to use this new bridge that we've ordered in from Hipshot, and it's a narrower spacing which would match this just fine. This will probably be the nicest bridge that's ever been on a Teisco base, but why not? I'm going to get some tape down now and draw some lines so we can get everything centered to the neck. I might as well, while I'm here, do everybody. That could be a much. I'm not going for. So have a little MDF. Do a little tracing because I need to make a template here. The new pick guard material that we've chosen is this. It's actually a plastic product, but it looks like brushed aluminum. So you've all heard the handyman's secret weapon is duct tape, which it may be, but carpet tape is the luthier's secret weapon. Since we have the template still stuck to the face, I've marked out, using the old pick guard, marked out where the screw holes are. I have changed the pattern a little bit because there was a bunch of screws. Since there was two pieces, I've kind of simplified this a little bit through there. So we've elected to move the neck pickup back to this position, and then of course then there'll be the bridge pickup we're going to leave alone, and everything. So I'm going to route those out here now. And I'm going to carve a bevel onto the pick guard. I think I'm going to bring this one to a close. I do have a couple little minor things to take care of. There's a loose strap button, and I got to add a strap button down here on the base side horn. But that's all stuff I'll do off camera. I'm very thrilled with how the bass plays now. It actually sounds rather decent on a proper amp. I just have the little battery powered one out here on the bench, and it's not the best way to judge tone, but anyhow, yeah, the new pick guard, I like it. I think it looks appropriate for this bass. The original was metal, and there was this metal plate on here. I'm not sure if this is actually original. This headstock's not original. There was actually a bulge out right here that had been shaved off at some point. So things have been modified over the years, but I assume that the metal pickguard that this thing had on it was the original. And we've simplified it, just made it into a one solid piece. New harness. In the electronics here, we added another volume control because there was a couple switches that we eliminated from the mix. So now it's just volume, tone, and everything works well. It's all new kit, so pots are clean and everything. A-style hip shot bridge, which has the proper spacing for the instrument and for the neck width. Yeah, overall, I think the bass is actually playing very, very nice. I have a nice low action. This neck is very, very stable now. And the truss rod works well. Yeah, I think the client's going to be very pleased, and I know he's anxious to get it back. So there we go. If you've enjoyed this video and made it this far, then please hit the like and subscribe buttons, especially the subscribe button. We're shooting for 1,000, and we're about halfway there. And so, yeah, if you could help us out, I'd appreciate that. And I will see you again in the next repair video. Take care.